Hello guys, I am Nidhi Bagalwadi, your science teacher, Sankalp Learning Solutions. In the last class, we discussed regarding the concept of sustainable management of sources. So the sources of energy as well as our environment and this lesson are interconnected. So when we learn those concepts, so this concept should be completed so that the linked concepts you will understand in a better way. Okay, so in the last class we discussed how we should manage the what we can say the waste as well as uh, just a minute. Okay, so we also discussed regarding the Ganga action plan. So the main focus here was as the Ganga river was polluted extensively by the industries as well as by the dead bodies which were thrown into the Ganga as well as what we can say the ashes which have been thrown into the Ganga. So these all caused the pollution of a Ganga river, and the Ganga action plan came into existence in 1986, but it came into action in the year we can say 2011 12 no 2014 13 like. So now Ganga is the cleanest river. Okay, now before we used to learn to save the environment by considering 3 R's, but nowadays it has been what we can say reviewed, or it has been updated as 5R principle of waste management, or we can say 5R principle to save the environment. As you can see 5R here, the first R is reduce, the second R reuse, third recycle, fourth repurpose, and fifth is refuse. Reduce means what? Simply don't switch on the current, electric current, or you can say the water. Do not waste the food unnecessarily. So, if you are going out, make sure to switch off all the lights, to switch off the LPG gas, to switch off all the taps at your houses, etc. And the reuse, use again the paper, use again the bottle which has been, for example, we might seen many people are using those water bottles to plant the small plants in their houses like a garden plants, right? Next, some things you can recycle, or some of the things like you can say the cardboard box and all you can recycle into something new, into something craft work such this, that is a recycling. And repurpose means what? For example, here you can see any box, you can take any box and you can use of it, you can put any things. For example, simply taking a pen stand, you can take the other cups of ice cream which you used to put your pens or pencils, etc. Like this you can repurpose the things. The next one is refuse. Say no to the plastic, say no to the plastic cups, everything. So say no to the non biodegradable waste. So these are the 5R principle which we should follow in our daily life, which once it is followed by everyone, then waste management or saving the environment, uh, what we can say, the motto will come true. Okay, so 5R principle is the most important question, that is 5R: R, reduce, reuse, recycle, repurpose, and refuse. Okay, next. Now we are learning regarding certain sources which are very important for us to sustain our life. Sorry. The first one is forest, guys. So, what do you mean by forest? It is a very large area which will be consisting of the trees, many kind of trees, variety of trees, and rich in biodiversity. Why it will be rich in biodiversity? Because it will be consisting of variety of trees which will be food for many animals, which will be shelter for many animals. Right. So, what is the importance of forest? This we are learning since sixth or seventh standard. The first one is preserve by biodiversity, preserve wild animals, preserve the insects, preserve many kind of animals and the other living organism, and a natural habitat for many plants and animals, natural place for many plants and animals to grow. Then it provides timber and wood necessary for the industries, necessary for the human beings, as well as the medicine and fodder for the cattle like cow and buffalo. Then it helps to maintain ecological balance, we can say. For example, it helps to maintain the balance in the environment. It helps in monsoon or a rainfall, and it also controls the climate. It prevents the soil erosion. It controls the floods. Floods means what? Over, if it rains heavily, all the water will not come directly into the cities. It is due to the forest. Okay, forest help to maintain oxygen, carbon dioxide gases in the nature. So these all are the importance of forests, we can say. Right. So we can say the forest as a biodiversity hotspot means which is rich in plants and animals. So the number of species found there we cannot find everywhere. Okay. Next, but conservation of forest is in a very negligible now. Like we will say, we will write a long essays, we will speak hours together regarding conservation of forest, but who will put into action? Those members, or we, actually we being the stakeholders of the forest, we are not striving towards it. We are just speaking, we are just writing. Okay, so let us see what we can contribute to save the forest. The first one is stakeholders of forest, or we can say the owners who own forest actually. So the people who are associated with the forest, who are directly involved or indirectly involved, are called as stakeholders. For example, people living in and around the forest, the tribal people, or the local village people which is near to the forest. So they are all the stakeholders of the forest. Okay, so they utilize the forest maximum for their livelihood. The next one is industrialists, we can say. So most of the industries are directly or indirectly dependent on the forest. So these people also will be the stakeholders of the forest, because they will use the raw materials. Like for manufacturing the paper they need timber, the medicines they need many plants, as well as the furniture. Then forest department of the government, who owns the forest. So they are, and we can say they will be having judicially, they will be having the right to control and to whatever they can do for the forest. Okay, nature and wildlife organization. So nature and wildlife organization, these are the organization which have a concern towards the nature, towards the forest, as well as towards the wildlife animals, wildlife plants. So those organizations are called nature and wildlife organizations. So these all people are the stakeholders of the forest, we can say. Fine. So actually what these stakeholders has to do? These stakeholders, even though they are using the forest and forest products maximum, they are not concentrating how to cope up with it. We know that forest is a renewable resource. Like plants we will cut means it will not grow suddenly, right? So we should have in mind, like if we are destroying certain amount of forest, it should be mandatory that if you cut one tree, you should grow, or you should sow two seeds, you should plant two trees. Okay, like that mindset as well as action should be there, so there will be no problem for the future generation. This is the duty of a stakeholder. We are using the forest, we are using the forest products, but we are not aware of when the forest will end. If it ends, what is next? We know the resources are getting over day by day, right? So that has to be thought by every stakeholder seriously. The next one is the a very what we can say, the stakeholder responsibility which was shown by our Indians in a very what we can say uh, before independence. So it is called as Bishnoi movement. It occurred in one of the Jodhpur, which is near Rajasthan, in one of the very small village of our Jodhpur. So the leader was Amrita Devi, and she was associated with I think 363 people or the villagers. So she protested against the cutting of the trees, mainly the tree named as Khejri, so which was regarded as a sacred tree. So the people used to worship those trees. So these Khejri trees were what is that? Mm, these Khejri trees were the Maharaja or the king of that region instructed to cut these Khejri trees, so that he wanted to build a new palace. But the Protestants or the villagers led by the leader Amrita Devi. So they protested such a lie that many people were killed in this protest. As you can see in the picture, see, many people are killed there. And a woman is hugging the tree so that she is not allowing them to cut the tree. So like this, they did the protest to conserve the forest, to conserve the wildlife. So do we observe such protest nowadays? No. Simply we will write in essay, simply we will post in a Facebook, WhatsApp, World Forest Day, we will post. We have to conserve forest, we will post, but we will not take care that the garden which is in our house. We will not water the plants. We will not, on our birthday, we will not remember to plant a tree, right? So this is how the people were there to conserve the forest. The people strived to conserve the forest. And as well as uh, in the remembrance of this great woman, that is Amrita Devi, there is one national award which is called Amrita Devi Wildlife National Award, which will be given to every year for every person who works towards the conservation of nature or forest or the wildlife. Okay, Amrita Devi. So Ganga Ram was the first person in 2001. He got Amrita Devi Wildlife National Award. He was the first person who got the national award, Amrita Devi National Award. So he got because he was dead. I mean, he was murdered by the hunters who killed the deer. He followed and he was, what we can say, haunting for the hunters who killed the deer, who used to kill the deer for their poaching purpose. But because of his, what we can say, the hunters killed him due to his death. Because of that wildlife, the award is given for Gangaram in 2001. Like this, many people are there who are, we can say, under the cover means we are not seeing them. Many people are working towards conservation of forest in secretly, or we don't know about them, because early we should try to know about them. Otherwise, we should be one of them, right? To conserve the forest. Then, how conservation of forest can be done, guys? So forest can be conserved by afforestation. What do you mean by three? We have, that is deforestation, reforestation, afforestation. D means cutting down the trees. Deforestation. Okay. Then reforestation. If you destroy the forest area, in that place only you should grow the trees. That is reforestation. Then afforestation, planting more trees not in a forest area only, wherever the place is there, the place is available. So you can, what we can say, um, grow the trees. That is afforestation. The next one is preventing and reducing deforestation, that is cutting down the trees. The next one is preventing overgrazing by cattle. So in the Himalayan region, in one of the region, we have alpine meadows, the tall grasses which are called alpine meadows. So usually the sheep are allowed to graze there in the summer. Okay, but now that region or that area is under the forest department, right? So they are not allowing for the grazing the sheep. So because of that, the alpine meadows will grow however how much ever they want. They grow long. They are the long grasses, and they will dry themselves again. They regrow. Like this, we can conserve the forest. We can prevent the deforestation, right? Then, by setting up wildlife sanctuary, national parks, and biosphere reserve, we can conserve that forest. Undertaking forestry programs like One Mahotsav, Chipko Movement, we know now. So that is Appiko or Chipko Movement. They hugged the trees while they were cutting. For the movement, planting and protecting the trees on a large scale. So this is how conservation of forest can be done, right? So in Alpine Meadows, we saw and we discussed regarding Amrita Devi, Vishnoi movement, how to conserve the forest, who are the stakeholders. And remember, you are also one of the stakeholder of the forest. So please do conserve the forest. So this is about the forest. In the next session, no, we will complete in this session only wildlife. So wildlife means was the living organisms which are there in the forest are called as wildlife. The life which is living in the forest are called wildlife. So, what is the importance of wildlife? It helps to preserve biodiversity. If the wild animals are there, we usually will not go to that areas, right? Then forest will be conserved. Wildlife helps to maintain food chains and the food web, which directly maintains the ecological balance. We get useful products like honey, fodder, food, the medicine, leather from the wildlife. Then conservation, how we have to conserve it. So we should not cut the trees. Deforestation has to be minimized so that the natural habitat, the natural home of the animals will be preserved. Banning poaching of animals. See, they will poach or they will hunt the seals to get its skin. They will hunt the elephants to get their tusk. They hunt various tiger, lion to get their leather. Right. So this poaching of organisms should be what we can say banned under the very strict laws. Protecting endangered species of animals. Endangered means after few days or after few years they will become extinct, means we will no longer able to see those organisms or those living organism or those animals. So those are endangered species. We have to concentrate for the preservation of them. Sorry, not the preservation, for the protection of those species. The next one is setting up of wildlife sanctuaries. By setting up these wildlife sanctuary national parks, no, a normal human being or the hunters, anyone cannot go inside such wildlife sanctuaries, national parks without the prior permission of a government. So, like that, wildlife can be conserved, we can say. And yeah, Amrita Devi, this I said no regarding the local people. And this has alpine meadows also I said grazed by sheep in summer. This practice was put to an end when national park was formed in that region. So that is why now the grass grows very tall and it falls over, preventing fresh growth. And as I said, the Chipko movement or Chipko Andolan to conserve the wildlife and as well as the forest. So it was in 1970 in Garhwal Himalayas of Uttarakhand. So what happens? There's a group of farmers, women farmers. So in the village named Rainy, so they hugged the trees as you can see in the picture to prevent the cutting down of the trees. And also why they prevented means they said that they have the very traditional forest rights. These are sacred trees. They did not allow them to cut the trees. Okay. Then people's participation in management of forest. So far seeing forest officer was AK Banerjee. AK Banerjee was a forest officer in the Arebari forest range of Midnapur district of Mr. Banerjee, Midnapur district. So he involved with the villagers in the protection of 1,272 hectares of the sal forest. Sal forest means which consists of a sal trees. In return for help in protection, villagers were allowed to use fuel, wood, fodder collection on payment of nominal fees from the forest. And they are given employment in both silviculture as well as for the harvesting of it. By this, 25% of final harvest was given to the village community. So with the help of villagers, he opposed the cutting down of the tree, that is sal forest, which was about 1272. As he got the help from the villager, he also helped the villagers by giving them certain what we can say opportunities, by giving them the employment, giving them some amount of profit from the silviculture that we harvest, as well as giving them the wood and fodder. The result was active and willing participation of the local community. Means the villagers also involved, The Sal forest of Arabari underwent a remarkable recovery by 1983. So it was valued around 12.5 crores. So nowadays, if anyone is cutting the tree on the roadside of our area only, we will not get the courage to ask why you are cutting, right? But see the participation of the villagers over there. Like that, we should have the mindset that should not we are the stakeholders, man. The we are using maximum use of that forest, right? So in the Indian literatures like in Atharva Veda and all, we can find many shlokas or many hymns related to the nature, related to the preservation of the nature and the forest. Fine. So this is regarding the conservation of forest and the wildlife. In the upcoming session, we are going to learn regarding the conservation of water and the other management of resources, right? This is about this sustainable management of resources. We will meet you. I will meet you in the next session. Until that, take care. Have a nice day. Bye bye.